Marcus Rodriguez stood in front of the mirror, adjusting his Team Earth uniform one last time. The sleek graphene-enhanced fabric felt strange compared to his usual cotton workout gear, but then again, everything about today was strange. Just 3 months ago, he'd been preparing for the World Weightlifting Championships in Mumbai. Now, he was about to become humanity's first athletic ambassador to the Galactic Sports Federation. Ambassador Rodriguez, called a melodious voice from his quarters communication panel. The Galactic delegation is ready to receive you. Marcus took a deep breath, his broad shoulders rising and falling beneath the uniform. At 6 feet 2 inches and 240 pounds of carefully honed muscle, he knew he'd stand out among the generally smaller alien species. The briefing packets had prepared him for that. What they hadn't prepared him for was the weight of responsibility on those shoulders. The doors slid open with a soft hiss, revealing a corridor that seemed to stretch endlessly through the massive space station. 2 beings waited for him: Senior Director Vazin, a tall, willowy creature whose iridescent scales shifted colors with each movement, and Protocol Officer Nix, who resembled nothing so much as a sophisticated collection of floating geometric shapes. "Welcome, Ambassador," Vazin's translator rendered their musical tones into standard English. "We trust your journey from Earth was comfortable?" "Very comfortable, thank you," Marcus replied, remembering his diplomatic training. "Though I must admit, the 0.8 standard gravity takes some getting used to." Nix's shapes rearranged themselves in what Marcus had learned was their equivalent of surprise. "You find our gravity settings uncomfortable?" "We specifically increased them from our usual 0.3 standard to accommodate you." Marcus smiled, already used to these kinds of misunderstandings. "On Earth, we live with gravity that's about 1.2 times your standard. Our athletes often train with even higher loads." The color rippling through Vazin's scales took on a distinctly worried hue. "Surely you must use gravitational dampeners? Or perhaps biological modifications?" "No modifications," Marcus said firmly, having prepared for this question. "Just natural human adaptation to our environment. That's actually why I'm here, to help the Federation understand human physical capabilities in their natural state." As they walked toward the main assessment chamber, Marcus couldn't help but notice how everything seemed designed for beings much lighter than himself. The floor barely registered his weight, and the handrails looked like they might snap if he gripped them too firmly. The assessment chamber itself was a marvel of alien engineering. Holographic displays floated everywhere, showing readings and measurements in dozens of different alien scripts. In the center stood what appeared to be a series of increasingly complex exercise machines, though none of them looked quite like anything from Earth's gyms. "Before we begin the official assessment," Vazin announced, "our medical team would like to perform a baseline scan. Standard procedure for all new species joining the Federation's athletic program." Marcus nodded and stepped into the scanning chamber, trying not to feel like a specimen under a microscope as various beams of light passed over his body. The medical team, a group of beings that looked like particularly scholarly jellyfish, floated nearby, their tentacles waving in patterns as they discussed the readings. "Impossible," one of them finally declared, their translator making the words sound both confused and accusatory. "These muscle density readings cannot be natural. The bone structure alone would collapse under such mass in normal conditions." "I assure you," Marcus said patiently, "everything about me is completely natural for a human athlete. Earth's gravity and our evolutionary history have shaped us to be quite robust." "Robust?" Nix's geometric patterns spun rapidly. "Ambassador, according to these readings, your muscular system could generate enough force to damage most of our standard testing equipment." Marcus felt a bead of sweat form on his forehead. This was exactly the kind of situation Earth's diplomatic corps had worried about. "Perhaps we should start with the lowest setting equipment and work our way up? I'm happy to demonstrate gradually to avoid any accidents." Vazin's scales had settled into a worried purple. Yes, that would be wise. Though I must ask, are all humans as physically powerful as you? Oh no, Marcus laughed, then immediately regretted it when he saw how it made several smaller alien species drift backward. I'm actually considered quite average among human strength athletes. Our strongest can lift significantly more than I can. The silence that followed was broken only by the sound of someone dropping what seemed to be an extremely expensive piece of monitoring equipment. The first piece of equipment looked like it had been designed by someone who had heard of exercise machines but had never actually seen one. Marcus stood before what appeared to be a hovering set of crystalline bars, each glowing with a soft blue light. This is our standard strength assessment unit, Vazin explained, their scales now a cautious shade of green. It creates a resistance field calibrated to the user's natural capabilities. Please grip the bars and pull downward as if performing one of your earth exercises. Marcus reached out, carefully wrapping his hands around the crystalline bars. They felt oddly warm to the touch, almost alive. He glanced at the worried faces, and geometric patterns, around him and decided to start with just 20% of his maximum effort. The bars didn't budge. Is the equipment activated? He asked politely. Activated? Nyx's shapes vibrated in what might have been confusion. Ambassador, you're currently experiencing a resistance equal to lifting a small planetary shuttle. Marcus blinked. Oh. In that case. He applied slightly more pressure, and the bars smoothly descended. The assembled aliens watched in stunned silence as the holopanels displayed rapidly climbing numbers in their alien scripts. Fascinating, hummed one of the jellyfish scientists, floating closer. The subject is exhibiting force generation capabilities that exceed our equipment's standard maximum by, calculating, approximately 300%. Should I stop? Marcus asked, still holding the weight with relative ease. Please continue, Vazin said, their scales now cycling through colors faster than Marcus could track. We'll need to recalibrate the equipment to its emergency maximum settings. The resistance increased dramatically, and Marcus finally felt something approaching a decent warm-up weight. He completed 10 smooth repetitions, maintaining perfect form as years of training kicked in. Impossible, declared a new voice. A being that looked like a cross between a praying mantis and a supercomputer strode into the room, multiple limbs gesturing at various displays. I am Chief Engineer KTHX, and these readings violate at least 7 laws of biomechanics. Only 7? Marcus couldn't help but joke, immediately regretting it when he saw KTHX's antenna curl in distress. We must proceed to the advanced testing chamber, KTHX announced. These results require verification under maximum security protocols. The advanced chamber made the previous room look primitive by comparison. The walls pulsed with strange energies, and in the center stood what appeared to be a complete gravitational manipulation system. This facility, KTHX explained with evident pride, can simulate the gravitational conditions of any known inhabited world, plus an additional 50% for safety margin. We will begin with your Earth normal gravity and progress upward. Marcus stepped into the testing area, feeling the familiar pull of Earth's gravity settle around him. A new set of equipment materialized, this time looking more like traditional weightlifting gear, though constructed of materials that seemed to bend the light around them. Ready when you are, he said. The next hour was a blur of increasingly desperate equipment recalibrations as Marcus systematically exceeded every safety limit the facility had established. He tried to be gentle, he really did, but when they finally reached the equipment's absolute maximum. Crack! The sound echoed through the chamber like a gunshot. The beautiful crystalline barbell Marcus had been using suddenly developed a spiderweb of fractures along its length. Stop! Stop everything. KTHX's voice had risen several octaves. Do you realize what you've done? That was a bar forged in the heart of a dying star. It's supposed to be virtually indestructible. I'm so sorry, Marcus began, but was interrupted by a new arrival. A massive door had opened at the far end of the chamber, admitting a being that made even Marcus pause. Standing nearly 9 feet tall, with a body that seemed to be made of living metal, the newcomer radiated authority. "I am High Commander Zyrex of the Galactic Sports Federation," the being's voice resonated through the chamber without need for translation. "And I believe we have grossly underestimated our human friends." Marcus stood at attention, very aware of the broken equipment at his feet. "Sir, I apologize for any damage." "Damage?" Zyrex's metallic features shifted into what might have been a smile. "Young human, you have done us a great service. For too long, we have designed our facilities based on the assumption that no naturally evolved species could exceed certain physical limits. You have proven that assumption false." The commander turned to address the assembled scientists and engineers. "Update all protocols. Redesign the equipment. And..." They paused, their silver eyes fixing on Marcus, "prepare for the first truly universal galactic strength championships. It seems we have much to learn from our Earth colleagues." Marcus felt a weight lift from his shoulders, though admittedly, not as heavy a weight as he'd just been lifting. "Does this mean Earth's application to join the Federation's athletic program is approved?" "Approved?" Zyrex's laugh sounded like wind chimes in a thunderstorm. "Ambassador Rodriguez, we're going to have to create an entirely new division just for your species. Though I suggest we wait until after we've reinforced all the equipment." News of the broken equipment spread through the station faster than a quantum transmission. Within hours, the Galactic Sports Federation central hub was buzzing with representatives from dozens of species, all clamoring to witness the human phenomenon for themselves. Marcus sat in what passed for a station cafeteria, trying to look as non-threatening as possible while sipping from a container of protein shake that the station's automated systems had somewhat approximated from his Earth recipe. Around him, beings of all shapes and sizes were trying, and failing, to be subtle about their observation. "Mind if I join you?" The voice belonged to another massive figure, though this one appeared to be made of crystalline structures that shifted and flowed like liquid glass. "I'm Thrax of the Centauri stronghold." Marcus gestured welcomingly to the reinforced seat across from him. "Please. Though I have to warn you, I'm apparently causing quite a stir around here." Thrax's crystalline form rippled with what might have been amusement. "That's putting it mildly. You've managed to upend centuries of established physical performance metrics in a single morning. The Quantum Athletics Council is in complete disarray." "That wasn't my intention," Marcus said, watching as his new companion somehow absorbed nutrients directly through their crystalline surface. "I was just trying to demonstrate human capabilities honestly. And that's exactly what has everyone so excited, or terrified, depending on who you ask." Thrax leaned forward, their structure catching the light in fascinating ways. "You see, among the advanced species of the galaxy, we've all achieved our physical capabilities through technological enhancement or evolutionary engineering. The idea of a natural species matching or exceeding our abilities, it's causing quite the philosophical crisis." Before Marcus could respond, a harsh buzzing filled the air. A delegation of insectoid beings, their carapaces marked with official-looking symbols, approached their table. Ambassador Rodriguez, the lead insectoid's translator, crackled. "I am First Judge Zith of the Federation's Competition Ethics Board. Your demonstration has raised concerns." Marcus straightened in his chair, noting how even this simple movement caused several of the delegation to take an involuntary step back. "What kind of concerns?" "There are those who question the fairness of allowing naturally evolved Deathworlders to compete alongside civilized species," Zith stated, mandibles clicking. "Some suggest it provides an unfair advantage." "Unfair?" Thrax's crystalline form briefly flashed red. "The whole point of the Federation is to celebrate diverse biological and technological achievements. You never complained about my species' crystalline enhancement. Your enhancements are regulated, documented, and can be calibrated for fair competition," Zith countered. "How do we regulate natural evolution?" Marcus felt a familiar tension building in his shoulders, the same tension he used to feel before major competitions. What exactly are you suggesting? The ethics board proposes that humans be required to use gravitational dampeners during all official events, reducing their capabilities to match standard galactic norms. The cafeteria had gone completely silent. Marcus could feel hundreds of alien eyes, and other sensory organs, fixed on him. He took a deep breath, remembering his diplomatic training. With all due respect, First Judge, he said carefully, that would defeat the entire purpose of my mission here. I came to demonstrate humanity's natural capabilities and foster understanding between species. Hiding our true nature behind artificial limitations won't help anyone. Then perhaps, came a new voice, deep and resonating, we should settle this in the traditional way. High Commander Zyrex had entered the cafeteria, their metallic form gleaming under the artificial lights. A challenge. Zitha's antenna twitched. Commander? If the ethics board is concerned about fairness, let us put it to the test. Zyrex's silver eyes fixed on Marcus. A competition. Open to all species, natural and enhanced alike. Let us see how humanity's evolution stands against the galaxy's finest. Marcus felt a smile spreading across his face. What kind of competition? The first Galactic Strength Championship, Zyrex announced, voice carrying to every corner of the suddenly electric room. 3 days from now. All species welcome, all natural or artificial enhancements permitted. Let us settle this question not with regulations, but with pure demonstration of ability. The board protests, Zith began, but was interrupted by a wave of excited chatter from the gathered crowd. Species that had been watching from the shadows now moved forward, their various physiologies displaying clear signs of enthusiasm. I accept, Marcus said, standing to his full height. This time, he didn't try to minimize his presence. On behalf of Earth and humanity, I would be honored to compete. Thraxa's crystalline form shimmered with excitement. Now this, I have to see. Count me in as well. Very well, Zyrex's metallic features shifted into something like a smile. Let the preparations begin. And Ambassador Rodriguez? Yes, Commander. This time, we'll make sure to reinforce all the equipment. The station's main arena had been transformed in the 3 days since the challenge was issued. Gone were the delicate testing instruments and precise measurement tools, replaced by equipment that looked like it had been salvaged from a battleship's armor plating. The spectator areas were packed with beings from across the galaxy, their various forms creating a living tapestry of colors, shapes, and dimensions. Marcus stood in the preparation area, rolling his shoulders as he watched his competition warm up. Thrax was there, their crystalline form now streaked with pulsing energy lines. Beside them, a being that seemed to be made entirely of living plasma contained within a humanoid force field was performing what looked like stretches. In the corner, a massive entity that resembled a sentient mountain was quietly meditating, occasional tremors running through its rocky surface. Quite the turnout, Vazin commented, their scales shifting through excited patterns. The senior director had somehow become Marcus's unofficial support staff. We haven't seen this level of interest in a sporting event since the great quantum racing finals of the last cycle. How many competitors? Marcus asked, checking the specially reinforced suit they'd provided him. It felt strange having to wear protective gear to prevent damage to the equipment rather than to protect himself. 27, representing 19 different species and technological traditions, Vazin replied. Though I should warn you, some of them have made rather significant modifications to their bodies for this event. As if to emphasize the point, a competitor walked past whose entire skeletal structure appeared to be visible through transparent skin, gleaming with what looked like advanced metalloid reinforcements. High Commander Zyrex's voice boomed through the arena. Welcome to the first Galactic Strength Championship. Today, we witness the true diversity of galactic achievement, as natural evolution meets technological advancement in open competition. The crowd roared, or hummed, or vibrated, or expressed enthusiasm in whatever way their species did. Marcus felt the familiar pre-competition adrenaline beginning to flow. Our first event tests pure lifting capacity. A holographic display materialized, showing the competition format. Each competitor will attempt to lift an object of increasingly impossible mass. Last one standing moves on to the next round. Marcus stepped up for his first attempt. The object before him looked like a small moon condensed into a barbell. He gripped it, noting how the material seemed to adapt to his hands. Beginning at 50 standard mass units, the announcement rang out. Marcus lifted smoothly, the weight feeling surprisingly manageable. Around him, other competitors did the same, though he noticed several straining even at this initial weight. The mass increased progressively. At 100 units, the plasma being flickered and faded, unable to maintain cohesion. At 200, several more competitors bowed out. The living mountain was going strong, as was Thrax, though their crystalline form was showing stress fractures that continuously self-repaired. At 500 units, Marcus was sweating but stable. The living mountain finally rumbled in defeat, its rocky structure unable to handle the stress. Only Thrax remained as serious competition, their form now blazing with energy as they pushed their enhancements to the limit. 750 units. Xyrex announced, genuine amazement in their metallic voice. We have never reached this level in Federation history. Marcus gripped the weight, feeling the tremendous force trying to pull him down. His muscles screamed, but years of training on Earth had prepared him for this. With a roar that startled several floating spectators into higher orbit, he lifted. The display confirmed his success, and the crowd erupted. Thrax stepped up next, their crystalline form now pulsing like a small sun. They gripped, strained, and with a sound like breaking glass, their enhancement crystals shattered. They reformed quickly, unhurt but clearly out of the competition. Incredible. Xyrex's voice carried over the chaos. The natural-born human has exceeded all previous records. This is... But Marcus wasn't done. Still holding the weight, he called out, "Add more." A hush fell over the arena. Zitha's voice cut through the silence, "Ambassador, you've already won. There's no need to." "Please," Marcus insisted. "I want to show you something." The weight increased to 800 units. Marcus's arms shook, but held. 900. His face reddened with effort, but his form remained perfect. 1,000. At this point, the monitoring equipment was going haywire, and several of the more sensitive species had to leave the arena due to the gravitational distortions. Marcus held the weight for 3 full seconds, then carefully set it down. The silence that followed was profound. Then Thrax began to laugh, the sound like wind through crystal chimes. Others joined in, the arena filling with a cacophony of alien expressions of joy and amazement. By the first star, Zitha's translator barely caught their whisper. "We never imagined." "That's the point," Marcus said, his voice carrying in the sudden quiet. "There's so much we never imagined about each other. Maybe instead of trying to regulate our differences, we should be celebrating them." The days following the championship transformed the Galactic Sports Federation forever. Marcus sat in the station's newly reinforced conference room, surrounded by holographic displays showing news feeds from across the galaxy. Every channel seemed to be replaying his record-breaking lift, accompanied by commentary in countless alien languages. "The ripple effects are beyond anything we anticipated," Vazin reported, their scales now permanently settled into an excited turquoise. "We've received applications from 15 previously unknown species who had been hesitant to join the Federation, thinking their natural capabilities would be seen as too extreme. Including 3 other Deathworld species," Thrax added, their crystalline form fully repaired and gleaming. They had become one of Marcus's strongest supporters after the competition. "It seems you've inspired quite a few worlds to step out of the shadows." High Commander Zyrex entered the room, followed by First Judge Zith, whose carapace seemed slightly less rigid than before. Ambassador Rodriguez, Zyrex began, your demonstration has forced us to re-evaluate many of our fundamental assumptions. The Ethics Board has concluded, Zith announced, mandibles clicking softly, that our previous stance on natural capabilities was flawed. We focused so much on creating an even playing field that we forgot the true purpose of sport, to celebrate the incredible diversity of achievement across the galaxy. Marcus nodded, remembering something his old coach used to say about the beauty of human potential. On Earth, we have a saying, a rising tide lifts all boats. Sometimes competition isn't about finding who's best, but about pushing everyone to discover what they're truly capable of. Precisely. Zyrex's metallic form resonated with enthusiasm. Which is why we're proposing a complete restructuring of the Federation's approach. No more mandatory limiters or universal standards. Instead, we'll create multiple divisions that celebrate different forms of capability, natural, enhanced, hybrid, and more. And, Thrax added with a crystalline sparkle, we want you to help design the new system. Who better than someone who's experienced both the challenges and the triumphs of being different? Marcus felt the weight of the moment, not a physical weight this time, but the gravity of opportunity. I'd be honored. But I have one condition. Name it, Zyrex said. We make this about more than just sports. Each competition should be paired with cultural exchange programs, scientific collaborations, and opportunities for different species to learn from each other. Let's use these events to build bridges, not just break records. The room filled with various alien expressions of agreement. Even Zitha's antenna wiggled in what Marcus had learned was approval. There's something else, Vazin said, pulling up a new holographic display. Since your demonstration, we've received an unprecedented number of requests for human participation in various galactic industries. It seems your strength has implications beyond athletics. Marcus raised an eyebrow. What kind of implications? Rescue operations on high-gravity planets. Construction projects in extreme environments. Deep space mining operations. Fields where natural human capabilities could save lives and solve problems that technology alone hasn't been able to address. Turns out, Thrax chimed in, their form rippling with amusement, being a Deathworlder isn't just about breaking our equipment, though you did that quite impressively. The room filled with various alien versions of laughter, and Marcus found himself joining in. He looked around at these beings who had gone from viewing him with fear to treating him as a colleague and friend. In just a few days, they'd moved from suspicion to celebration of their differences. You know, he said, when I first arrived here, I was worried about fitting in, about being too different. Now I realize that our differences aren't obstacles to overcome, they're advantages to embrace. Zyrex's metallic features formed what Marcus now recognized as their version of a smile. Indeed. And speaking of advantages, we've finally finished reinforcing the station's primary gymnasium. Would you be interested in helping us design some new training programs? We have quite a few species eager to learn from Earth's fitness techniques. Absolutely, Marcus grinned. Though maybe we should start with the basics. You wouldn't believe how many galactic records could be broken just by teaching proper squat form. As the room erupted in another round of multilingual laughter, Marcus couldn't help but feel proud. He'd come to demonstrate human strength, but he'd ended up proving something far more important, that in the vast tapestry of galactic life, every thread adds its own unique strength to the whole. And if they had to reinforce a few more pieces of equipment along the way? Well, that was just part of the journey toward a stronger, more united galaxy.